Well, the U.S. president has told an American magazine he believes marijuana is no more dangerous than alcohol. Barack Obama also said legalization would be a challenging experiment. Well, although marijuana remains illegal in the United States under federal law, 21 states allow or are about to allow medical marijuana use. Colorado and Washington state have entirely decriminalized the use of marijuana. Well, in December, Uruguay became the first country in the world to legalize the sale, cultivation and distribution of cannabis. But violence relating to criminal gangs and the American-funded war against drugs is a huge concern in countries like Mexico and Colombia. We're joined now by Eric Farnsworth, who is the Vice President of the Council of Americas. He joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us. Were you surprised to hear Obama say that, well, it's no more dangerous than alcohol?
Well, I think he was speaking to a domestic audience for domestic purposes. Clearly, he was putting this in the context of who is getting sanctioned for the use of marijuana in the United States, but it does have international ramifications. And I think people who have been at the receiving end of the American message of drug control for many years have probably been a little bit surprised, sure, about what he said.
So to what extent does his statement change American foreign policy approach towards drug cultivation?
Well, I don't think it changes policy in any particular way at this point, but it certainly confuses it, perhaps, and I think continues along the trend line that we've seen in terms of the legalization of cannabis for recreational use in 2 U.S. states and the liberalization of usage in other states in the United States. So the message that's being portrayed to Latin America in particular is do as I say, not as I do, and in the context of international relations, that oftentimes isn't a message that's very well received.
So is that sustainable?
I don't know if it's sustainable or not. I think we're in a bit of uncharted territory. Clearly, some countries in Latin America are moving forward. Uruguay was mentioned at the last Summit of the Americas in 2012. Colombia and other countries very clearly called for a new hemispheric approach toward drug control. And so the hemisphere is going in different directions. But there are countries, not just the United States, certainly Brazil is being faced with some drug consumption issues and others. So it's not a completely unified voice in terms of what should be done. I think that's part of the issue. Some people have some ideas, but at this point, the consensus in terms of drug control is broken down.
If you listen to what Obama said, and if you look at what's going on in states like Colorado, do you think that perhaps some Latin American countries are going to be drawing the conclusion that the U.S. is heading towards legalization, and therefore why should we clamp down so hard on the cultivation and do Washington's bidding?
Well, I think that's exactly the right question to ask, and not just should we clamp down on it, but why are our citizens and our police forces and in some cases our militaries being utilized in this way, and people are dying. Again, I don't think it's gotten to that stage where people are saying that drug usage is now completely legalized, or that it's going to be completely legalized. And I think we do need to make a distinction between marijuana, for example, and cocaine or heroin or harder drugs. And with the exception of Bolivia, there really aren't any countries that are really talking about the legalization of cocaine. So there is a differential there. But clearly this continues a trend, and I think that the voices in Latin America and the Caribbean will continue to be raised to say, look, if the United States is doing this, why can't we?
All right, thanks so much, Eric Farnsworth there.